Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be doing a quick art journal page and doing lots of layering with acrylic paints and stencils. So I'm starting off in the 6x16 a weekly journal and I'm just gessoing my page, or I'm actually using the Amsterdam paint titanium white. I've been using that instead of gesso at the moment and it's been working beautifully. And I've just used a brush to put that out, but you could use a credit card or any way to get it on. You just need a really thin layer. But for this technique in particular, it's really important that you have gessoed your page because it won't work as well if you don't. Gesso acts as a resist, I suppose, for the technique that we're going to do. So I've just put down some acrylic paint and in 3 little splodges, got a stencil and used a wet wipe to wipe through it. Now you saw me heat that up after I was finished, and again that's another really important thing to do each time you do this. You must heat set what you're doing, because otherwise the paints will actually blend together and you want to have individual layers over the top of each other. So if you heat set, you can mix your colors and not worry about getting mud, because each individual section will be sealed. The other good thing, or thing that you need to do when you're doing this technique, is to actually overlay your paint. So you can see me when I put down that fuchsia that I'm starting to overlay with some of the other colors. And what you'll see start happening is that you'll start to see the colors from underneath come through when I wipe away the ink. So this technique, I suppose you hear occasionally people talk about it, it's called the ghosting technique. It's basically just revealing what's on the layer below. And I'm just using a normal wet wipe to wipe it away. I find the wet wipes, particularly if they're not too juicy, are good because they've got a little bit of moisture to help you remove any paint that you've got. I had some paint left over on my brush, so instead of wasting it, I painted it into my leftovers journal. And here I am just putting on another layer of paint. So all the paints that I'm using, apart from the one in the background, are the Dina Wakley paints. I think I've used magenta, sky, cheddar, fuchsia, lime, and I think I end up using ruby. I'm not 100% sure. Oh, lemon. Sorry, lemon. So you can see everything's going over the top. Now, if I had not sealed or heat set my original layer, that lemon, for example, would be turning green when it went onto the blue. So heating it as you go is really, really important. So you can still see through to that very first layer, and you can just build up. Now I tend to get a little bit carried away when I do this and probably put too much on, but I have fun doing it, so you can be much more restrained than me. And one of the things that I do struggle with a lot, and if you follow my channel you'll know this, is with white space. So I actually chose to add some white over the top just to sort of break it a little bit and give your eye somewhere to rest. But because, you know, I cannot leave white space, I then go in with some of the Amsterdam neon colour paints that I've got, just to really ramp up the colour somewhat and just make it really pop. So yeah, do as I say, not as I do, possibly. But you can see having the white there does help blend those colours in together and make them look beautiful. And I really do have a love affair with putting on really bright colours. So this is one of the Dina Wakley collage papers, and it's one of the large collage faces. Now earlier on in my journal, if you follow this channel, you'd have seen me do a page in this journal using the small collage faces, which are exactly the same, just scaled down, so you get 4 to one of those big pages. The reason I wanted to use one of the big faces, apart from the fact that I like them, is I wanted to see what a large face would look like in this journal, and if I liked how it worked. Because I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with collage tissues, I like to trim them down as close as I can to the black line, so I get rid of as much of the shadowing and haloing as possible. I've been very generous with the matte medium as I've put underneath, and then I've coated over the top as well. And now I'm just trimming off the excess. So you end up with this beautiful sketched image on the page. Now, of course, if you're fantastic at drawing faces, you could draw your own face on. You could collage a face out of a magazine onto this. The reason I chose to use the collage tissue is that I've got that beautiful face, but I can also see underneath. So I've got that really funky background and colour already there. and I can choose to leave that if I want, but I'm going to add in a little bit. This is my personal preference, and I would suggest it if you were going to do anything, just put a little bit of white in the eyes and colour in the pupils, and put the catch-alls, the little white dots, back in the iris, because it just suddenly draws your eye to that image. As soon as you do that, you suddenly think, nah, that's a face, and your eyes recognize it as a face straight away. And it just brings everything to life on the page. Even if you don't do anything else to it, it just really, really finishes off the image. Now all I'm going in with is some really, really watered down acrylic paint. This is Umber, again in the Dina Wakley range, and just colouring in the hair. Again, just to sort of frame up that face and to make the colours underneath pop a little bit more. Finally, I'm going in with just some of the neon paints, just to put a little bit of colour on the cheeks. And that's pretty much all I'm going to do. I think maybe at some stage I might give her some eyeshadow, but I'm not doing that at the moment. So once everything's dry, I'm using my foodball pen, which is a really great black pen. It's quite a wide nibbed pen, which I quite like, and quite a dark ink. And I'm using the Dylusions journaling block and moving it along as I go to get some really random curved lines. And I'm using this to write out my quote. This is one of my favourite ways to write quotes into my art journal, because while it's perfectly readable, it kind of looks like texture in the background, or a pattern in the background as well. So it blends in, I suppose, instead of just standing out as a really dark quote on the page. So the quote that I used is, she could not colour in the lines, so she chose to colour outside the line. She chose to draw new lines, I think. It's a quote that I really love, and it's got a little bit at the end, which I can't remember off the top of my head. It made her happy to be, it made her happy to stand out from the crowd. So it's all about being individual, and I think that image in itself is quite individual, and I love the background, so that's how it all works together. Doing your quotes in that way, just using the block letters to go across, is a really simple way to write a quote, and it makes me happy doing it that way. So that's it. It was a really quick journal page to do. I think it took about 15 minutes all up to do this, and it's a really simple technique that could be translated to lots of different things that you do. So I hope you give it a go. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.